Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Inman Instudio. Today's episode is really interesting to me because I come from the vendor side. And so when I get to learn about new platforms that are getting announced, I love to get a sneak peek behind how they came about. And so I'm very happy to get to sit down with Shalene Katad and Amy Gorse from CoreLogic. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having
Lauren.
us.
Happy to be here.
I'm so excited. First of all, this is the first time we've had more than one guest on. So that's exciting for me. So I'm looking forward to a lively conversation. But what's really interesting is you guys have the One Home product coming out, and you did a whole lot of homework before development, which I think is so exciting. And instead of forging ahead and building your product, you really were mindful and took some time to do a little research about your users. And I'm hoping we can kind of go behind the scenes with you and understand what went into the development and why this product is so exciting. Does that sound like a good plan?
Sounds great.
Sounds great.
Well, let's start with those consumers. What did you learn about them? What were their pain points that kind of jumped out to you?
Yeah, no, thanks, Lauren. So, what's interesting is just having focused on enterprise innovation and data and analytics. What you get to when you're speaking with consumers is you learn that almost every consumer starts their journey with a dream. And it's really the dream of homeownership, and it's almost fundamental to the American dream. And what happens, unfortunately, is as they usually go throughout that journey comes crashing down, right? As soon as you start to engage with, not just looking at finding a home, but purchasing a home, the paperwork, the unexpected surprises, the back and forth between the various parties. And what I found really interesting in speaking with a lot of these end users is that in a recent survey, consumers ranked owning a home as one of the top three joyous milestones of their life, right? You have a family, you purchase a home, and at the same time, they rated getting a mortgage as one of the lowest, most painful experiences.
Oh my goodness!
Right, like going to a dentist, and so you have this kind of most joyous occasion coupled with a painful experience. And I think that's where this becomes extremely important, because before we sat down, before we developed one feature or wrote one line of code, as you said, we spoke to the various parties in the transaction, right? Consumers, agents, brokers, and MLS boards. And specifically from a consumer perspective, the most common words that used to describe the process was, scary, stressful, frustrating, overcomplicated, and gone is the dream, right? You start with that dream, and again, that's where you end. And when you dig deeper, there's really three things that consumers highlighted that they wanted. They wanted transparency and choices in the shopping and all the services as they go through the process. They wanted safety and security, right? Because when you're doing that, you don't want your information on the open internet to be spammed.
Right.
And then most importantly, right, they want a more collaborative experience with their agent, right? Not just one where an agent drives them to open houses, but one that where an agent provides the guidance and really is the shepherd throughout this complicated process.
Those are very specific desires.
Yeah.
And they make so much sense. And it feels like between the dream and the nightmare, there's a lot of room, for improvement in the overall experience. So that is what you learned about consumers and their pain. So because those are end users for CoreLogic, but there's also agents. And you guys took the time to talk to agents as well. So what did you learn?
We did, Lauren. We talked to agents and brokers, actually, because they do have slightly different interests in what they were looking for. And from an agent perspective, especially, I think they wanted a lot of the same things, right? They wanted a place where they could collaborate. And today, CoreLogic, provides MLS solutions for over 800,000 end users. And so we've always had this idea of a collaboration tool, but it was very focused on the finding the home part of the transaction, right? Here's some listings, go take a look at those, tell me what you think. And so missing from that was all of the collaboration about everything else that that needed to happen. So enhancing certainly the data set around the listings was critical, and that's part of what we delivered here. I think the thing consumers said to us is we want to know everything, right? We want as much information as possible. So leveraging CoreLogic data assets to bring a lot more content into the listing was part of it, but also just providing a place where the agent can collaborate and have visibility to where the consumer might be stuck. So many times consumers say they're interested in self-serving, but when they get stuck, they want to look to their trusted advisor for what to do. And so providing that tool where the consumers kind of can go in, shop around, understand the process better, but know that their agent is right there if they need something for them. And for the agent and brokers kind of having that visibility into where they are. Did their search preferences change? Did they, did they learn more about the mortgage process by using the One Home tool? Things like that were really important. And agents and brokers like that they get those insights back because they don't always get those insights on other shopping experiences.
Sure. You know what that reminds me of? My daughter was in Montessori education growing up, and they always said freedom within boundaries.
That's right.
And that's what that sounds like to me, is providing the consumer that freedom, but having some boundaries, some safety guidelines for the agent to participate when they need to.
Absolutely.
I think on that note, I think it's important because one of the key quotes that I still remember in some of our agent panels was around, agents hearing things like, well, just an agent, or I think ultimately one of our fundamental goals in kind of being able to service as parties is to have one of the outcomes be, well, I couldn't have done this without my agent, right? I couldn't have done this without that guidance and without that trusted advice on my own. So
absolutely. And that speaks to a lot of concerns that we hear within the Inman audience of technology supplanting the agent. Whereas you're talking about creating a technology platform that will elevate their role and amplify what they can do.
Yeah.
And all of that comes down to this idea of experience, right?
Yeah.
Of what is the experience of using the technology in the broader experience of buying a home, which is the dream versus the nightmare. So can you talk a little bit about why experience matters?
Yeah. No, I think, as Amy said, CoreLogic works daily with more than 1 million agents who every day use our platforms. They add edit listings, they engage with their customers, the consumers. And I think with that engagement, there's a strong trust that's been built with CoreLogic, right? With our clients have really worked with us in helping make CoreLogic the gold standard and the market leader. But I think from our perspective, we have not just kind of the ability, but the responsibility to keep driving that standard higher, to continue focusing on providing an even better experience than we are today. And I think when you look at the wants and needs of the consumers, and you look at the wants and needs of the agents, there's a couple of things that stand out in being able to drive that experience, right? The first one that you heard was collaboration. And we've all heard that old adage that real estate is location, location, location. And I actually want to submit that, especially in today's data environment, it's more about collaboration. I think there's a lot of parties in there that kind of create a non-linear process that ends up overwhelming consumers and the experiences that they have, right? It's almost like they emerge with PTSD having gone through this experience.
True.
So I think the kind of digital collaboration is one. The education and transparency piece, I think, is critical as well. And I think this is where as agents come to CoreLogic, what they're able to see is, across CoreLogic, we have 4.5 billion property records. And I think that's insights on every single property and parcel in the US and going back 50 years. And I think given that footprint spanning real estate and mortgage and insurance and government agencies like FEMA, what we basically do is we take all these tidbits and we weave them together into creating an experience that's full of property insights and attributes and conditions and images, and really create that unparalleled experience in one home. And dissecting it, as I like to do, especially with our users, is behind all the technology and behind all the platforms, this transaction, this experience is really about people.
Yes.
And I think you said it really well, that there's with the billions of dollars that are being poured into prop tech and real tech, it's almost as if every single one of them has this little point product or point solution that's looking to disintermediate the people in the transaction. And I, along with the rest of the team in CoreLogic, fundamentally feel that this is really a transaction between people. And so being able to empower them with the best tools, the best insights in class that enables a collaboration actually makes the process a lot smoother than to just sort of take them out of the equation. I don't know, Amy, you have something to add to
Yeah,
that, but
no,
I'm very passionate
I think
about
you're
that.
spot on, Shalene. I think I'd
Yeah.
just add one small point, which is it's a natural extension of something that agents and MLSs and brokers already trust CoreLogic to do, right? It's a natural extension of that MLS platform to take where they are collaborating with consumers today, which we know they are, and offer the advanced tool set that allows for more collaboration and more detail and going kind of beyond just the identification and the search process. So I think trust is a big factor because, agents don't necessarily want to go out and just get the next shiny tool. They want a tool that they can trust, and the CoreLogic MLS platform is that tool today for the majority of agents in the US.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what I'm seeing is just this like Venn diagram, with this overlap of what consumers want, what agents want, and trust is, it crosses all of it, right? It crosses the relationship you have with your users and the relationship the users have with their clients.
Exactly.
Without it, there isn't much left.
And I think with that trust comes, the sort of confidence that you want to allow consumers the ability to self-explore, right? You talked about the Montessori adage, and I think it's being able to self-explore, but being able to then also provide the guidance when it's needed. We shop for things all the time. We're consumers ourselves, and I remember before buying a big screen TV, I can't tell you how many weeks of shopping I did myself and research I did myself. Now, a home is a tremendous investment and a tremendous milestone. So being able to have sort of the ability to self-explore, the ability to get guided recommendations. I think our goal is to be able to provide the best of both worlds.
So what's so interesting now is we can't talk about moving forward without addressing the fact that we've undergone such a massive shift in our world due to a global pandemic. And real estate has bounced back for the most part. Each market is unique, but they're all kind of adapting their best practices. And so I'm curious if you feel like One Home is actually an asset at this point through the lens of COVID-19.
No, I think you're right, Lauren. We can't all sit here and pretend like it's not here, right? And while CoreLogic didn't have any early insight into a global pandemic, it certainly did, arrive at a time when we were able to empower agents with this new tool that allowed for more virtual collaboration. And CoreLogic generally moved quickly in response to the pandemic to shift the tools to more online collaboration, supporting, virtual open houses, virtual showings, and all of those are fully integrated in the One Home experience, with the idea that we would shorten the sales cycle, but allow more of that, more of that experience to happen online, so that you can minimize, if you have to, the amount of time that you spend face to face while still getting, rich information, rich photos, virtual tours, and all of the things that you would expect to find online. But without that collaboration with the agent, the consumer's often left confused. I mean, Shalene talked about buying a TV. How many times have you gone to research a product and just gone down a rabbit hole for, you wake up on a Sunday afternoon and you're like, oh, I just spent the whole day.
You just get overwhelmed, right? I mean, it's
get very overwhelmed very quickly. And so,
that's right.
Having that trusted agent there to support you, to answer questions, to sort of, observe when your preferences are changing, or observe when you're starting to research the mortgage process, I think truly helps the consumer to shorten up that decision-making cycle and really use the agent for what they're good at, which is being the expert in the transaction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, you brought up the pandemic, and I think one of the things that has happened as, some of these industry trends have evolved is people's ability to look at technology and other experiences across industries. So the ability to, whether it's hail a taxi quickly using Uber, or being able to kind of, get delivery using DoorDash to your door, or Amazon and shopping, right? It's very much a friction-free engagement experience. And I think there's a strong belief that no, real estate is different, and real estate involves a level of interaction that these principles don't hold true in. And I think those boundaries between industries are breaking down, right? Whether it's food service or it's transportation, and I think in real estate, and I think people want the ability, whether it's using their mobile devices or it's through other channels, to continue to research but not be overwhelmed,
Yes.
to shop but not be spammed, to collaborate, right? But sort of not have it take a long time. And so the idea of going back to that self-exploration with recommendations, I think is ultimately, I think of the Netflix idea, right, where you've seen a movie and then you want recommendations based on your history. And I think that principle is something that we have helped crystallize in the one.
Yes, personalized, customized, and
That's right.
based on behavior. Absolutely.
That's right. That's right.
It's really exciting. And CoreLogic has been such an innovator in so many ways. It's amazing to see what you're doing next. So how can our viewers learn more about One Home?
Yeah, no, look, as you can tell, we're very excited to talk about it. So, please feel free to talk to us. But, it's onehome.com that can provide some additional details on it. And I think ultimately what I'd like to offer is, we have highlighted this solution, and we have invited a number of participants, dozens of MLSs who've already seen it. They're excited by it. We are making this nationally available by the end of the year. And so really the ability for us to continue to engage with us, if you've seen it, if you like what One Home is and how it can help you, jumpstart your business to get back into, jumpstarting real estate post-pandemic, talk to your MLS agents, talk to CoreLogic, and talk to us.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for taking us through that today. I really appreciate it. It was a fun conversation.
Yeah. It was fun. Thanks for your time, Lauren.
Thanks guys.
Lauren.
Take care.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.